Welcome back to my kitchen. I am going to show you how to make some kung pao cauliflower with rice. The first thing that we're going to need is about 5 tablespoons of cornstarch, and you're going to need a mixing bowl here. Alright, about 6 tablespoons of breadcrumbs. I'm using panko breadcrumbs, but you could use whatever you have. And we've got about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, about 2 teaspoons of tamari or soy sauce, and last but not least, about a 1/4 teaspoon of sesame oil. And then you're going to mix, this is 5 tablespoons of water, and you can add a little bit more if it's too thick, but we're going to put in that water there. Let me grab a whisk. Alright, so we're just going to whisk this together. And like I said, you can add more water if it's a little too thick. Okay, so we've got it mixed up here. It's a little bit too thick, so I'm going to add a little bit of water. Alright, I'm going to add about 3 more tablespoons of water. And we'll whisk that down a bit more. We want it to be a pretty smooth consistency to be able to dip the florets, the cauliflower florets in. And you can bake this recipe, but I'm actually going to deep fry it because I think it comes out a lot crispier and more desirable. Okay, so now we've got our batter and we're letting it thicken up a little bit. We're going to fill up our stock pot over here with some oil so we can deep fry these cauliflower florets. If you were going to bake this instead of fry, I would do it on about 425. Just preheat your oven for 425 and then batter the florets and then bake them for about 30 minutes or so. And they should come out really nice and still pretty crispy. I just prefer frying when I can. And this is just canola oil here. And I've got some over here that's left over. This is a bit more heavily used canola oil that I've had saved, so I'm not gonna use too much of it. But we just want to get about 4 to 5 inches of oil in here, enough to fully submerge the cauliflower florets. Perfect. Alright, we're gonna get this oil turned on here. And I'm going to start heating up this oil on just above a medium. We want to get somewhere around 350 to 375 for frying the cauliflower. And for the cauliflower florets, I've already prepared them off camera today, just for time purposes. But basically, you just want pretty normal size florets. You want everything to be relatively close in size. A lot of people I know will buy the pre-cut florets, and those are usually about perfect size. So alright, so while our oil is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and start preparing the sauce that we're going to coat the cauliflower in when it comes out. And for the sauce, you're going to need about 8 to 10 Arbol chilies. These are dried chilies. They're really spicy, so you want to, if you're going to use these, you want to make sure to leave them intact. Because if you break them open, you'll let the seeds out and it'll start getting very spicy. If that's what you're after, if you want some nice spice in your dish, then you can break a couple of these open and it'll definitely pack a punch. We're also going to have here about a 1/2 teaspoon of all this is slightly ground peppercorn and red chili flakes. You could also use Szechuan peppercorns for this. We've got some scallions here. This is about 4 or 5 scallions sliced. We've got about 1 inch of ginger minced and 4 to 5 cloves of garlic minced, as well as about 3 tablespoons of roughly chopped cashews. Alright, so to start the sauce, we're going to get just a skillet here heating over around medium-low, and we're going to start with a little bit of olive oil, about 1 to 2 teaspoons of olive oil. And we're going to go straight in with our chilies and our peppercorn and red chili flake. And we want to work that around a little bit and kind of toast it up. You probably want to toast this for about 3 minutes or so and just get a little bit of color and some nice fragrance coming out of this pan. And like I said, be careful about your chilies here, because you don't want to break them open. I've got one here that's kind of got the stem off the head, so that'll probably be the one that I leave broken open like that, because it'll add a lot of spice quickly. These will actually be served in the end presentation of the dish, and you can eat them, but like I said, they're really spicy. They just kind of look nice in the end, and they add a lot of nice chili flavor to the dish. So we're gonna let that toast up for, like I said, about 2 to 3 minutes now. Okay, so while our chilies and peppercorns are toasting up over there, we're gonna make a little sauce that's gonna go in after we get the other ingredients in there. So first thing we're gonna do is 1/2 cup of water with about a teaspoon of cornstarch. And with the cornstarch, you wanna go ahead and kind of give it a whisk just to get it incorporated into the water. And we're gonna add a tablespoon of sugar. This is about 1½ tablespoons of rice vinegar and 2 tablespoons of tamari or soy sauce. And we just want to give that a good whisk, and we'll pour this in over top of the chilies and the garlic and the rest. Okay, so now that our chilies are toasting up a little bit, that looks pretty good. Got a little too dark, but that's okay. We're gonna go ahead and add in the cashews and our garlic and our ginger. And we want to stir everything around in this oil. Just want to make sure you break up all that minced ginger, get it nicely distributed. And you want to be careful not to burn your garlic and your ginger here. So let's check the temperature on our oil. Like I said, we're going for about 365 or so. It's almost there, just about 30 more degrees. We'll leave our thermometer in there and keep an eye on it. So now that the garlic and the ginger and the cashews have had a little bit of time, we're going to throw in some scallions. Give that a little mix, and we want to add the sauce that we just made over here with the cornstarch and tamari and rice vinegar, and that just goes right on top. Okay, so now at this point, all you would do is bring this to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer and let it thicken down. I'm gonna leave it on a low for right now while we're frying the cauliflower, and then get it exactly where I want it when the cauliflower finishes so we can pour it over. So we're at about 345 now, which is close enough. So we'll start battering and frying the cauliflower. I'm cooking for about 2 people tonight, so I'm not gonna do all of my cauliflower. I'm probably gonna do about half of it, and make this again one night this week and use the other half, or just use the other half of my cauliflower for something else. I would probably recommend that if you're going to do a full head of cauliflower on this, you would want to make about 2 times the batter here. Alright, we're just going to stir the cauliflower in around the batter, and you just want to get all the pieces nice and coated. We're not going to fry all these at the same time. We're probably going to fry 4 or 5 of them, so we're going to fry them in batches, but there's no worry if you just leave them sitting in the batter while you're waiting to fry them. And this is the quicker, easier way of battering them. Might not get full coverage, but it gets pretty close. Just try to get underneath of the cauliflower and get all that sauce or all that batter that's sitting on the bottom of the bowl. And as long as your batter is nice and thick, it'll coat this cauliflower really nicely. We want to get a really nice crispy outer coating on this cauliflower so that when we pour the sauce over it, it doesn't go kind of soggy on us. And there will be a little bit of white spots on the cauliflower, and that's okay. Alright, so we've got our oil, we've got our cauliflower coated. We're going to go ahead and start frying these guys, and I'm going to fry them in batches. Always be careful when you're frying. I like to use a really nice deep pot like this so that I have plenty of room for if the batter, or excuse me, if the oil tries to climb up the pot and come out on me. So I'm going to do about 5 or 6 of these guys since they're relatively small. And we want to fry these for a few minutes, probably 3 to 5 minutes, to get a nice golden brown coating on the outside. Anytime that I'm frying, I like to turn my oven on. My oven has a keep warm setting, but I like to just turn the oven on about 200. And it'll get nice and warm in there, and as you're frying these batches of cauliflower, you can just stick them in the oven, keep them nice and hot. And we want to use some kind of a strainer to get in here and make sure these cauliflower are doing okay. I'll show you what one looks like if we can get them separated. So that's getting close there. It's got a nice brown outside, but we want a little bit darker golden brown. And you want to keep an eye on your oil temperature as well, just to make sure that the oil doesn't get too low. If you try to fry something in oil that's not hot enough, the oil will just seep into the ingredient that you're trying to fry, and instead of getting like a crispy outside, it'll just get kind of a soggy inside. Alright. So this right here is about the color that we're looking for. It's a nice dark golden brown, and when you pull them out, just strain them really nicely and get off all that excess oil, and then go straight onto your sheet pan and your cooling rack. And while they're hot and they still have a damp outside, grab a nice handful or fingerful of salt, or pinch of salt is the word I'm looking for, and just sprinkle that salt all over the cauliflower. Alright, so we'll stick this in the oven and let it keep getting warm while we fry the next batch. So our oven temperature is hovering around 335 after the first fry. So you want to just turn it up just a little bit to make sure you're keeping that around 350 to 365. Okay, so we're on to our last batch of cauliflower frying up. I'm going to go ahead and turn the sauce up just above a medium, and we want to bring it, and it's already starting to simmer here, but we want to bring it to pretty much a boil, sort of a calm boil, just like it's doing there. And I'll let it boil like that for just about 20 to 30 seconds. And then we'll go ahead and drop it down to low. And you can give it a little stir, but it basically right now all it's doing is just thickening up nicely. And that cornstarch that we added is going to make it a really nice sort of syrupy kind of sauce after it cooks down, and it'll just coat the cauliflower really well. And we've got all kinds of flavor in there, from the Arbol chilies and the peppercorns and chili flakes, garlic, ginger, scallions. Delicious. It's going to be so good. Alright, so we've got our cauliflower finished. We're going to take it over here. And we're going straight into this bowl. And you want to be careful if you've been keeping your cauliflower in the oven like I was. Just don't burn yourself. Almost lost one. There we go. Get this out of the way. Gonna hit it with one last pinch of salt. This is some flaky salt, so some big chunks in here, which is kind of nice. And we'll get our sauce that's nicely thickened up. Oh yeah, look how thick it is now. It's nice syrup. Alright, so we're just gonna go straight over top of the cauliflower, and we'll give this a nice toss. Make sure you get every last little bit. There we go. Alright, and with your spatula or whatever you want to use, just give this a nice stir around. And I can even do a little toss in the air here. Just want to get those cauliflower pieces nice and evenly coated. Alright, so the last thing is just going to be onto the plate with the white rice. This is some jasmine rice that I cooked earlier, or excuse me, this is some basmati rice that I cooked earlier. And we want to make sure we get some of those cashews and a couple of chilies to go right on top. Alright, and that's it. That is the dish there. Can move our chilies around a little bit for a better presentation. Alright, so I got a picture of it, and now it's time to give it a try. And I'm just gonna go straight for this big hunk of cauliflower here. Like I said, you can eat these chilies if you want, but they are super spicy. They're really more there for flavor and for presentation. Mmm. Oh wow. Mmm. That cauliflower is so crispy, crunchy. And the sauce is, it's like a sweet and sour and spicy, just perfect combination. Just a great sauce, great sort of Asian inspired sauce to go on cauliflower. And I'm holding back a cough here because it's so spicy. Excuse me. It's so good. I definitely recommend this recipe. And you don't, like I said, you don't have to use the chili, the Arbol chilies, but they definitely add a ton of chili flavor to this dish, and they make it really spicy if you break them open. So highly recommend. But anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and just consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoy watching daily vegan cooking like this. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.